Stage 2, LOX load closing out. Falcon 9 is on internal power. Falcon 9 is in startup. Stage 2 pressing for flight.
Falcon 9 radar set, go for launch and landing.
T-minus 30 seconds, stand by for the countdown.
Stage 1 pressing for flight. Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Lift off of Falcon 9.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Power and telemetry nominal.
As you just saw, Falcon 9 had an on-time liftoff through the fog from Vandenberg Air Force Base. Approaching max Q.
Vehicle is supersonic. Vehicle is passing through maximum dynamic pressure.
We now have 3 events coming up in rapid succession. Main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine start 1, or SES 1. All of these things you can follow along with on the timeline at the bottom of your screen. Main engine cutoff coming up soon. This is where all 9 engines of F9 will shut down. Trajectory is looking good.
Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
And there on your screen, you can see that we have visual confirmation of main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine start 1. So on the left-hand side of your screen, we'll watch the first stage as it begins its return back to Vandenberg Air Force Base. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the second engine as it begins to carry the 3 RADARSat satellites to sun-synchronous orbit. So boost back burn has begun. There you just saw fairing deployment. It's a pretty cool shot of the fairing flying away. And we have about 10 seconds left in the boost back burn. So the shot you see on your left is from inside the interstage.
Boost back shut down.
And boost back, confirmation of boost back shutdown. So in order for the first
Stage 2 is on a
stage
nominal trajectory.
to make its way back to landing zone 1 at Vandenberg Air Force Base, it has to execute a series of 3 burns. The first, which you just saw, is what we call the boost back burn, and that helps to slow the rocket down and orient it for entry. Shortly after this, the grid fins, which you see right there, articulating as they help steer the rocket back to Vandenberg, those are deployed to help guide the rocket during its descent. Following that, Falcon 9 executes its entry burn, and that slows itself down before hitting the dense part of the atmosphere. The entry burn actually cuts the first stage speed almost in half. So that's what will be coming up next at about the T+6 minute mark. The third and final burn that stage 1 will execute today is the landing burn. Happens to be everybody's favorite burn, and that takes place just before touchdown as the booster touches down softly on the ground. So if you happen to be in the greater Vandenberg Air Force Base area, I recommend that you head outside because you are very likely in range to experience the sonic boom that comes with re-entry. So at T+5 minutes now, we have confirmation that MVAC power is good, trajectory is looking good. Despite the foggy view from this morning, everything is looking good. We are 10 seconds till entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
Confirmation that stage 1 entry burn has started. So there on the left-hand side of your screen, you see the first stage as it's making its way back to landing zone 1 at Vandenberg Air Force Base with the help of the grid fins. The view on your right is the same operation that we have going on, just from a different camera. So there you can see that we have confirmation of stage 1 entry burn shutdown. Stage 2 on the right-hand side there, looking good. Everything is nominal and trajectory is good.
Stage 1 FTS is safe.
Slowly but surely, you can see the layer of fog reapproaching on the left-hand side as we have a view from the top of the first stage rocket looking down the rocket towards the engine section. You heard the call out for stage 1 transonic.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
Landing burn has begun. Due to the fog, we might lose the video as it touches down, but stay tuned.
Landing legs have deployed.
Okay, there you can see. There you can see, again through the fog, but at least a little bit more clearly this time, Falcon 9 has landed at landing zone 1 back at Vandenberg Air Force Base. So with that good news, we turn back into second stage, our primary mission,
Stage
as
2
it
FTS
continues to
safe.
carry the 3 RADARSAT Constellation satellites to sun-synchronous orbit. That's a shot of the MVAC nozzle as it burns
SECO.
through. And there we had confirmation of second engine cutoff, or SECO. So now we're just going to wait for confirmation of second stage good orbit.
GNC confirms good first orbit insertion.
All right, we have confirmation that we have a good orbit for second stage. Now, we're about to enter a 40-minute coast phase, so we're going to take a break, but we're leaving you with an animation that shows where we are in the coast phase. We'll be back at about T plus 49.5 minutes for a second stage relay.
Also signal Vandenberg as expected.
this morning. Maybe you're watching us while you're enjoying your breakfast. Thanks for hanging out during that rather lengthy break. Right now, our second stage is about to very briefly reignite its MVAC-D engine for the second and final burn. We'll see that happen at T plus 50 minutes and 9 seconds, and that'll last for about 10 seconds. After that, we'll be waiting to hear if we have second stage in good orbit.
And back ignition. And back shutdown.
So there on your screen, you saw confirmation of second engine start 2, as well as SECO 2, second engine cutoff. So we're going to wait to confirm that we
GNC
have a
confirms
good
good
orbit.
orbit
Actually, I
insertion.
just heard the call out. We have a good orbit for a second stage. So as of right now, we'll be coasting for the next 6 minutes or so. So we'll be back at T plus 54 minutes for the deployments of the 3 RADARSAT Constellation satellites. Right now, we're less than a minute away from the deployment of the RADARSAT satellites. just in case you're tuning in on our mission this morning, we had an on-time liftoff from Vandenberg Air Force Base this morning at 7:17 a.m. Pacific time, followed by gorgeous shots of Falcon 9 rising from the fog. We managed to land the first stage back at landing zone 1, again at Vandenberg Air Force Base, so hopefully those of you in the Vandenberg area got to experience that sonic boom. As you can see on your screen right now, second stage is about to deploy the 3 RADARSAT satellites on our mission today.
Acquisition of signal, Malindi.
So the view that you see right now is at the top of the second stage, looking out into 2 of the 3 RADARSAT satellites. And that on the right-hand side, of course, is the sun, which is giving us some cool solar flares. And there on your screen, you can see visual confirmation of the first of 3 payload deployments. So we are not launching these 1, 2, 3 in rapid succession. They are spaced out a little bit by a few minutes each. While our customer is MDA, all 3 of these satellites are for the Canadian Space Agency to help enhance maritime surveillance, disaster management, and environmental monitoring. Maritime surveillance includes ship detection, ice monitoring, oil pollution monitoring, and marine wind measurement. Disaster management includes disaster mitigation, warning, response, and recovery. And environmental monitoring includes forestry, protected areas and wildlife habitat, agriculture, wetlands, and coastal change. So the next deployment will be coming up at T plus 58 minutes and 23 seconds, so we're just a little over 2 minutes away from that. Sit tight, and we'll bring that to you in just a few. So in about 20 seconds, we will have the second of 3 payload deployments. Again, we have 3 RADARSAT satellites on board for today's mission. We have already successfully deployed the first one a couple minutes ago, and we're now awaiting to deploy the second.
Payload 2 deployed.
And there on your screen, you can see that we have successfully deployed the second of 3 of the RADARSAT satellites. As I mentioned earlier, today's payloads will be delivered to sun-synchronous orbit. Sun-synchronous orbits travel over the Earth's poles as the planet rotates underneath, and that allows the satellites to pass over a particular section of Earth at the same time each day. Our final deployment is coming up at the 1 hour and 2 minute mark and 13 seconds. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in a few minutes to bring you that.
What's the signal in South Africa and Mauritius? Malendi is continuing to supply telemetry with no video as expected.
So we're coming up on our third and final deployment for this morning's mission. I am hearing from the team that while we will have telemetry available, we might not have video, so stay tuned on the right-hand side of your screen there. If we're able to bring you footage of the final deployment, we certainly will. But as soon as I hear, I just heard the call out that all payloads have been deployed. So unfortunately no video on that one, but with those 3 successful deployments, that brings our webcast to a close for today. On-time liftoff from Vandenberg Air Force Base this morning, rising out of the fog for a beautiful liftoff as well as landing. And as I just mentioned, we were able to successfully deploy all 3 of the RADARSAT Constellation satellites. We would like to thank the U.S. Air Force for range support and the FAA for licensing today's launch. We'd also like to thank all our viewers for tuning in. Follow our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. Until next time, have a great day.